Simply because you've done a breakdown of the muscle like this doesn't mean you should never ever use references. Use references whenever you're doing figure drawings. And in today's video, I'm just simply going to look at male leg shapes and female leg shapes. And the difference is pretty simple. Male legs are more muscular than female legs. Female legs, from the hip area, their hips are usually wider and broader, usually mature women because of childbearing. And while male have like slimmer waist, depending on your body fat and your size, whatever, genetics. A lot of things affect the size of the hips and the size of the legs. So but generally speaking, male have more muscular legs than female, right? Their legs are much more softer than how rocky male legs are. And so we're just going to do that study in today's video. Like I said, this is also part of a study series where I, sort of like break down the leg. I've done one for the hands, I've done one for the arm, I've done one for the torso. I've also done one for the leg, even though those videos, most of those videos, the audio quality are really bad. But you can check them out, especially those of the torso and of the arms. The more recent ones, they are much more cleaner than the older ones. Yeah, so we're just going to do that in this video. And the way to study, like I always say, is to actually draw. Studying in art just simply means drawing, and like doing it over and over again to get yourself familiarized with the muscles. And if you're confused, you go back to the list of the muscles that you've done, something like this, and like look at the names of the muscle that you're targeting and like work on it. So today we're just going to do with male and female leg shapes, and then we're going to talk on the quad muscles. Yeah, and that's what we're going to do for today in this video. So I'm just quickly going to break it down. Not the muscles, I'm just going to draw what I'm saying here. I use references for my study. And another thing you could do is that once you've had like done a drawing like this, one thing you could do is that based on how detailed all these muscles are and confusing, what you could do is that you could take a drawing reference like this image here of this man's legs, and then you could actually do like a breakdown, like trace the muscles down all over like the legs and try to figure out the major muscles, the ones that are usually drawn. So like the quad muscles, the sartorius, I believe, and then the muscles in his inner leg, and then the calf muscles, and like just use simple shapes to just break it down in a way that is convenient and comfortable for you. So that's one thing you can do. I'm also going to try and do this, but I'm going to use like bodybuilders legs and like normal people's legs, and then something like a gymnast legs, or normal athlete's legs, so that we can see the different body types and how these muscles are seen. Yeah, but if it's like a fat person, there'll virtually be not much muscle, and it's just be fat. So you're going to see a lot more curves. So yeah, that's just what I do with my whole studying process. So I'm just going to quickly draw this. I've been yapping for a while. The way I do my own studies is that, like, to make things easier for my brain, is that I just simply use like a skeleton, like to sort of put the direction of where my drawing is going to go, and then I use my tubes, and then I just use simple shapes to draw. So I'm trying to say, and then I detail later on. All right, so in the last video, I did talk about curves. So I talked about like would I say counterbalance, and how like the muscle isn't necessarily straight. Because I'm drawing it like this, I'm trying to oversimplify it so that the drawing process is going to be much more fun and easy for me. So you can see that this area is curved while this area is straight. It's curved, but it's straighter than like the bump in this area. There are bumps in some areas, and there are bumps, like some areas don't have bumps. This area is curved while this area has its bumps, right? So it's usually good to figure out things like this in your drawing, so that it's the same thing with the arm. You're going to see some bumps in some areas, while other areas are going to have like simple straightish looking rhythm. So see bump here and well, this area is, so you see this area is bumpy while this area is straight, right? And that's how you see, you see this what do you call them now, this sort of flow around the human body in general. And once you kind of understand it, it just makes drawing a whole lot more easier, and it doesn't become tasking, something that drains you a lot, because sometimes some people get headache whenever they love drawing, but they get a bit of headache when they are tackling some parts of the body. And yeah, see, we've been able to like break down this pose. Simple as that. So quad muscles here, we have I believe vastus medialis, and then we have our rectus femoris, and then we have our sartorius muscle over here. And then we have our kneecap. Then we have our calf muscle. I don't know any calf muscle. I do know, based on the former study, that this muscle over here starts with G. The name of the muscle starts with G. That's all I know. That's all I remember. And this guy over here is our Achilles tendon. Something simple like that. So let's do the one for the female. I'm just going to use a skeleton. And yeah. So whenever I draw, I do talk about simple shapes, but I also talk about 3D shapes. So you can look at that same thing like with the leg over here, something like this. And it's going to help you break down the leg. At least it is doing that for me at the moment. And another thing is like negative space. That can really help you with drawing or tackling poses, because this pose looks a bit challenging. Well, it is a bit challenging for me. I'm not finding it easy, but because of some like little techniques here and there, I've been able to make it work. Something you could do if you struggle with poses, and I'm struggling right now, but like if you struggle worse than this, perhaps, is that you could always just like the original image, just break it down into like a simple shape, like the tubes that I was doing from the beginning. If you just break that down like that, and then you copy that simple shape, and then the drawing or illustration is going to look a lot more easier for you. Yeah, that should be better, but I'm just going to leave that like that. Not proud of that, but let's move to the next one. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to leave that like that. That looks good to me. I could shade it, man, but I'm not down for that. But anyways, that looks good, man. I could draw that. Anyways, that's the male and female legs. Simple as that. Practice it. Get you could pose yourself and practice and draw. Take a picture of yourself and practice and draw. So I'm just going to quickly look at quad muscles right now. So quad, I believe, simply means four. So we have our vastus medialis, vastus intermedius, I believe, and what's the other one? Rectus femoris and vastus latidius, something like that. Wow. Yeah, so we have rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, and we have one more which is beneath the rectus femoris, which is the vastus intermedialis, I believe. There are four. So quad means four, but usually you are able to just see three muscles. So what I like doing for things like this is that I like to read what they say here. They said a large fleshy group, a large fleshy muscle group covering the front and sides of the thigh. It has four parts: rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, and vastus intermedialis, which is located deeper underlying the rectus femoris muscle. They originate at the ilium and femur thigh bone and come together in a tendon surrounding the kneecap and insert at the tibial tuberosity of shin bone. These muscles extend the legs at the knee and are important for standing, walking, and almost all activities involving the legs. So, yeah. So this is what I do. This material is very, very useful. So like simple, quick explanation like this of like the insertion and origin of the muscle. You can do this if you want, or you cannot do this. But this is like sort of what I kind of do to help with my understanding of the muscle. So we have our bones here, our femur and tibia, and our fibula muscles, bones, I mean. And then you add the main muscles that they're talking about. So you can see how usually I'll draw the entire form like of the muscle. And then I break it down. And then I look at it from different angles. Yeah, so we have that view, and then we can see how other muscles which are around it, how it looks around like the other muscles around it. So now just quickly draw this leg over here, and then you can sort of see how there are other muscles like our glutes, serratus, I believe that's the name of the muscle, how it's overlapping it. You can see how different muscles overlap it. And then another thing you could do is you could figure out like the names of those muscles that are overlapping it. So it will help you better understand the relationship between these muscles. Yeah. So a simple study like this, is going to just upgrade your understanding of the legs. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be perfect, but just trying to get the form of the muscle is going to really help you out. So something simple like this, we're focusing on just this quad area, and then you can then look at it from a realistic view and see how that muscle looks in a real healthy looking person. You can then see the muscles. Then you can then see that it's not very visible, right? But like learning the muscle is going to be very helpful. Right, simple as that. You can detail it, of course, if you want. So as something as simple as that. And then the next thing we're going to do is like the reason for this skeleton is like sort of like to show the insertions, like where they start, where the muscle starts, and where it ends. I'm not going to look at that. I'm not teaching, I'm learning. So I'm just trying to document like how I'm breaking down, or how I'm understanding, my process of understanding this muscles and the connection to make me a better artist. So you can see we have our femur here. right? And then you can see how large that medial vastus medialis muscle is. You can see how large it is, so that when you look at the leg from the side view, yeah, it's called vastus for a reason. So I checked, and like vastus simply means large, or well, vast. The word vast is in it, so it's a vast muscle. And then we have the rectus femoris. I believe, what does rectus mean again? I've forgotten what the word means, because we do have rectus abdominis. So there was a word that I used to connect it, and I've forgotten what it is. So we have our rectus femoris over here, and then our bones. And not really what we're looking at here, so we're just going to focus on this. Then you're going to see from the side view, you're going to see how that muscle looks with the other overlapping muscles and tendons all around it. I know it can be quite exhausting, because I'm feeling it as well. Like, to when you're studying for exams, like, it's not really necessarily always a fun process. So you have to kind of invent things or techniques to make the entire process a bit bearable. I'm not bearing this. Like, I'm enjoying myself to an extent, but it's a study, so sometimes you have to push yourself past. Like, you have to just do it despite not always feeling it, like feeling the entire like study process. So if not, you won't learn. You have to draw to the point of discomfort sometimes. Well, always to the point. Art is pain to an extent. Some people would say that as much as you have to enjoy it and it's something you love doing, like, if you actually want to grow and improve, you have to do the uncomfortable. All right, so we're seeing that our muscle there, you're seeing how it's connecting with other muscles. There's a boy femoris over there. And the thing about all these complications, like, once you've drawn it over and over again, I keep saying it, but it's true, like, you're going to get better. That's the tibialis something something. I'm not focusing on that muscle now, so you can just leave that there. Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly, but like, you get the gist. And then lastly, the inner parts. As you can see, bones are not necessarily straight. Our sartorius, the longest muscle in the human body, by the way. Yep. Simple as that. We've drawn the muscle. It's a bit more easier, like, now that I've done it several times. All right, guys, so that's it for this video. We did the quadriceps muscles, the four muscles, and just quickly did a few sketches to kind of like show how the muscles are, and then quick sketches of like the male and the female muscles, their forms, how they look, how male muscles are softer, male muscles are stronger and more rigid, and like female muscles are much more softer. Like, if you are finding this difficult, like, because this was a bit difficult, I can't lie, just use simple shapes like I always talk about. Use your tubes and use your circles and things like that, and they might prove to be a bit more easier. Sometimes when I'm doing this kind of studies, I tend to try to make them look good, aesthetically pleasing, because I do post them. So I'm trying to, like, my ego is, trying to make it look pretty as possible, but really that's not how it should be. Studies are rough a lot of the times, and that is because you're trying to understand what's going on, how things look. You can make them as clean as possible if that's your preference, but ideally you should just try to get it over with. Yeah, so yeah, these are just the two studies for today, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll do more legs. And the next one, we're going to talk about the sartorius muscle. And you can see that there's a lot of like similar drawings, like over and over again, and I'm going to try to draw them over and over again as well. And that is because the more I draw them, the more the muscles are going to stick in my head, the more I'm going to question myself and ask, like, oh, what's that muscle over there? Why is it like that? Why is it that shape? And once I find out, I'm going to become better at drawing the muscles. And that's how studying works, and that's how I study. And hopefully this video helped you and you picked one or two things. And I'll see you in the next video. Please, we're trying to get to 2K. Please help a brother out and just click on the like button and leave a comment down in the comment section if you have any suggestions, or just mention whatever it is that you learned. And I'll see you in the next video.